Okay, so I should probably have expected this request to come much earlier than it did, but here we are. We're talking about it. That thing that's too good for tabletop games. Actually, I don't really believe that. I think it's real good. I think you can work to balance the thing. Probably, most likely. Today, on this episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit, we're going to talk about probably the most popular third-party splat book, as old Tiki here, has requested we crack open Path of War from Dreamscarred Press. Let's build us a zealot, shall we? This should be fun. This should be fine. Nothing could possibly go wrong. Like, subscribe, ding the bell, and watch it all go wrong. Today, this episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit was brought to you in part by old Tiki Through the Artificer. Make sure to check him out playing his namesake in Final Fantasy Heralds of Dawn. And Tiki, thank you for your support, your friendship. You're the best. Now let's do the thing. Okay, so this video is going to serve like 4 different purposes, just sort of nature of the beast. Path of War stems from old 3.5 classes. You ever read Tome of Battle? Yeah, same idea. It's been brought forward by Dreamscarred Press, as they are wont to do, into the next generation of playing games and things, but that doesn't make the system any more or less confusing. It's a bear, and all of the classes function basically fundamentally different than anything else in Pathfinder. When a GM sees Path of War come down, if they don't understand how it works, it can be intimidating. So in addition to talking about how to build one of these classes, this also serves, again, as a bit of a primer. Now, straight down to it, today we're building a zealot, but it's not just any zealot. Oh no. Today we're building a void prophet. The role of this character in the party is honestly, I don't even know. That's how different it is. And given the way maneuvers work, it could basically be whatever you wanted, almost. What are maneuvers exactly, you might ask? Maneuvers, which tend to come from various different schools for flavor's sake. For our void prophet, we're looking at Eternal Guardian, Piercing Thunder, Sleeping Goddess, Cursed Razor, and Riven Hourglass. Think of them as forever and ever spell-like abilities. Of course, they're not, but, well, some of them are. It's awkward. You have a set amount of them that you learn as you level, both stances and, like, as a standard action, I do the thing, then the thing happens and it's bad for you, which all classes have some ability to re-prepare in combat. So it's kind of like infinite spell slots. All of the classes do it a little differently. Our Zealot recovers expended maneuvers equal to its initiation modifier. Think of that as like casting modifier, and for our case that's our charisma. Whenever a member of the Zealot's collective, and yeah, you heard that right, DSP fans, this also kind of serves, yeah, no it doesn't. We'll still do a DSP psionics video later, but this kind of has similar powers, is reduced to 0 or fewer hit points, or get a single maneuver back as a standard action. We will talk more about our maneuvers later. Let's talk about exactly what the class does. As far as our race goes, we've already discussed that we're basically casting off our charisma modifier. Charisma is the name of the game here. As far as your race goes, it can be whatever you'd like, just be charisma focused. Because charisma is what we're attacking with, more on that later, and again, it's what they're saving against. Also be chaotic good, more on that in a sec. Now, the Zealot, in addition to getting maneuvers, of course, has its own class abilities. It has the ability to put people into a collective. Think a shared mental state, if you will. It gains the Unwilling Participant feat at first level to put unwilling targets into your collective, because you kind of need it. And of course, receive some power points to make the psionic things happen. Expanded Collective also is a thing that happens, so we can throw 2 extra creatures into that collective. But why oh why do we do this, you might ask? Well, you know, whenever a creature fails a saving throw to be added to her collective, the Void Prophet's allies in the collective gain a +1 morale bonus to attack rolls and saving throws for a number of rounds equal to our charisma, or until the creature leaves the collective, whichever comes first. The bonus increases by 1 at 5th, and again every 5 void prophet levels thereafter. So, you grab them, everybody gets a little better at what they do. Seems good. Kind of like rogue talents, I guess, at 2nd level and every 4 levels thereafter, an ability called Conviction. Not a giant list. Some of them are good, some of them are meh, but we'll worry about that later. To go even further, the Zealot can function kind of like one of the DSP psionic classes in terms of, sharing hit points with your friends. At 2nd level, the Zealot learns to share the immense pain and suffering their allies must face to fulfill their calling. Once per round, when a willing member of the Zealot's collective, other than themselves, so not someone you forced in, one of your allies basically, takes hit point damage, the Zealot can redirect up to 5 points of damage per Zealot level to themselves as a free action, even if it is not their turn. Effects other than hit point damage are not reduced or transferred. Damage the Zealot redirects, ignores any form of DR, resistance, immunity, etc. And when the Zealot does this, the Zealot can pay up to 1 power point per Zealot level to negate 3 points per power point spent of that damage to a minimum of 1. At 7th level, the Zealot can do this with ability damage. At 12th level, we can do it to each of our allies once per round, negating 5 points per. At 17th level, we're automatically negating the first 10 per. That's before the 6 per power point spent negated. So a flat 10, then 6 per. You see the point here? And it's a free action, not on your turn. We're good. Now the build feels a little on the pokey side. Of course, Endless Hunger lets us put people in the collective after we use a strike on them. Though if successful, the Void Prophet cannot recover the strike that provoked, but that's okay. It moves a little faster. You slap them, you grab them, everybody gets buffed, you kill them, you get stuff back. Pretty good, right? Yeah, Path of War is basically all about being pretty good. And sometimes it can outrun the Paizo classes. But with Echoes of Steel at 4th level, when the Zealot initiates a maneuver at least 1 level below the maximum maneuver level they have, they can spend 1 point per maneuver level to grant another member of their collective the ability to do the same thing once within a minute, or until the Zealot recovers maneuvers. This ability doesn't give a creature 2 of the same maneuvers. You can only have one of these going at a time, or at 11th you can grant 2. Though a given creature can only know 1, so give 2 of your friends a thing. This build doesn't necessarily pass out the real scary maneuvers so much as the Zealot loves having a giant party of friends to play with for basically that exact reason. Kind of feels like a bard, right? Just hitting a lot harder, given that it is a full base attack progression class. Gee, if only it could debuff. Oh, ye of little faith. Hollow faith, if you will. At 4th level, the Void Prophet designates a number of creatures in their collective as a free action at the beginning of their turn. Those guys suffer a -2 penalty to AC, attack rolls, skill checks, caster level checks, manifester level checks, until those creatures leave the collective, or the Prophet is rendered unconscious or dead, or else rescinds the penalties. And there it is. We're buffing us, we're debuffing them. That's really good. It goes on to have several bajillion other abilities, up to and including living inside someone's consciousness or vice versa. We've seen how that works in the playtest. We don't need to talk about it here. Now, real quick, we're going to touch on the feats and our dedications before we talk about the real crazy confusing stuff that Path of War can be for the uninitiated. Pun not intended, but you can accept it. As far as our feats go, it's very simple, very straightforward. Lots of the maneuver-based classes' abilities require a standard action, which means we're not 2-weapon fighting, which means we're not usually vital striking or doing anything super crazy. It's all about just the staple feats. From jump, the reason we're chaotic good is so we can be as synced into charisma as, possible. So we can get our hands on Desna's Shooting Star from the Divine Fighting Technique, which allows us to add our charisma bonus to attack and damage when wielding a star knife. Yeah, that means we're only doing a d4 of damage, but we're the buffer and the debuffer here. We help our friends be good at what our friends do, which is more important than our own damage output. Though, again, some Path of War classes really can dish it out. Farshot seems real good to, help that throwing weapon pan out a little more. Have 13 dex or strength to up your damage a little bit. Weapon focus with the star knife is a feat we will also be taking, alongside point blank shot for a +1 to attack and damage within 30 feet, and also blatant taxing through our bonus combat feat from our dedication. So then we can start grabbing the Star Toss style feats. The first one's just real nice. Star Toss style says, choose one weapon from the thrown fighter weapon group. Oh, you know, like a star knife. While in Star Toss style, and using that kind of weapon, you gain a bonus on damage rolls made with that weapon equal to 2 plus 2 per style feat you possess that lists Star Toss style as a prereq, a maximum of 6. So yeah, there you go. That D4 damage dice looks a little better when we can buff it out with this. Star Toss Comet allows us to, as a standard action, make a single ranged thrown weapon attack at our full BAB. If we hit, we deal damage, and then can make a second attack against a target within 1 range increment of the first. If we have Vital Strike, Improved, or Greater Vital Strike, you add the damage from those feats to the initial ranged attack, but not the second one. Then Star Toss Shower lets us continue to make attacks against foes within 1 range increment of all previous opponents. You can make a maximum number of attacks equal to 1 plus 1 per 5 points of BAB you have, and Vital Strike the first dude. Oftentimes, we will be using a move action, whether that's to use some of our dedications, whether that's to add unwilling members to our collective. So a lot of times our combat turn looks like move action, then standard action maneuver. Sometimes we will want to, chuck a star knife at someone, and this allows the damage to bounce around a little bit, especially if you come to a point where there's a bunch of little guys in your collective you need to die. Our last 3 feats, of course, will be Vital Strike all the way up, because why not? It synergizes. Our dedications, our rage powers, pretty easy to understand. We'll take the bonus feat one at second for point blank shot, because we have to. Also, it's not bad when you're using thrown weapons, given that you're probably throwing the thing inside point blank shot range anyway. At 6th and 10th level, we will take Path of Dedication, then the improved variant. Path of Dedication says, as a move action, the Zealot can grant one willing member of their collective a move action to move, even if it isn't their turn. The movement must be taken immediately and provokes. You can do it once per round. Get this as the improved variant at 10th level, and whenever our Zealot uses a boost or counter, a swift or immediate action maneuver basically, the Zealot can pay 3 power points to activate the conviction as a free action, even if it is not their turn. In addition, the Zealot can pop Psionic Focus when using Path of Dedication to grant its effects to all willing members of their collective, including the Zealot themselves. So yeah, that's really good for a lot of parties. Difficult terrain got you down, Path of Dedication, give them a second move action. Got a really fast move speed or a really slow move speed and need to get out of there, Path of Dedication. Would you really like to full attack on your turn? Is your turn right after the Zealots? Path of Dedication to move you into range. 14th and 18th will see us take Tempered Body twice for a 50% chance to negate crits and sneaks. Since this character does have a lot going for them, I do feel that the most effective strategy is to just kind of get your hands on the stuff that you can write at the top of your sheet and then forget about running in combat. Just, I have a 50% chance to negate a crit or sneak attack. Of course, this doesn't stack with Fortification, as it is Fortification. But, just remember you have it so you don't betray your part. Now, let's talk about our maneuvers, shall we? This is the fun part. This is the part that's confusing. This is the part that I think a lot of people don't understand and maybe get afraid of as they see a Path of War character hit the table. Or when someone comes in at session 0 and is like, is Path of War available? Now, Path of War is obviously very good, but when we understand how it works, it makes it a little easier. Again, maneuvers kind of function like spells, except the martial variant. Think of them as style feats that require standard action. Several of them require other maneuvers known in that discipline as you level up, which can be hard to get a hold of at first, but when a Zealot hits 4th level and then every even number after, the Zealot can learn a new maneuver in place of one they already know, losing the old maneuver in exchange for the new one. Your Zealot can choose a new maneuver of any level they like, as long as they observe the restriction on the highest level maneuver they know. That is to say, don't start grabbing other ones. The Zealot needs not replace the old maneuver with a maneuver of the same level. So basically what happens is, you begin play knowing a lot of different disciplines maneuvers. As you advance, you slowly drop the ones you don't like and begin advancing the ones you do like that need prereqs by learning the prereqs during retraining. A Zealot, of course, must choose which maneuvers are ready, kind of in the same way that a sorcerer knows a certain number of spells, but the wizard has to choose which ones they're casting. The maneuvers remain readied until 10 minutes in contemplation, basically. A zealot begins an encounter, and all of the Path of Wars begin that encounter with all of their maneuvers unexpended, regardless of how many times they might have already used them since choosing. So basically you have a bunch of readied maneuvers to be used once per encounter until you recover them, and then the next encounter you're ready to go again. Now, let's talk about what those look like, shall we? Now, we're not going to talk about each individual maneuver we're taking, because we'd be here all day if we did, because there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are subject to change as you level depending on what you're really into, and again, kind of just what works for your character. The ones I like for the Zealot tend to come from Riven Hourglass and Sleeping Goddess, things that allow us to get extra actions, manipulate actions, and do further debuffs. It seems to feed into what the class does real well. Take things like Riven Hourglass Stance, which costs a swift action, so that's awkward when you need to do this before combat, but it gives you a +4 dodge bonus to AC and initiative, also making you immune to the slow spell and any power, psi-like ability spell, or spell-like ability that targets you has a 20% mischance. Per good. Stuff like Temporal Fury, which again is one of those, make an attack. It's a standard action to use this. If you hit, you do normal weapon damage plus 2d6 more, then the target must pass a fort save at DC 13 plus initiation modifier, and really that's just a cleaned up way to say spell level, because this is a level 3 maneuver, or be slowed for 2 rounds. Y'all see where I'm going with this? Break the Hourglass is an immediate action, which you initiate in response to being targeted or caught within an attack or AoE. Then you immediately take a standard action and a move action or a full round action on not your turn before that effect resolves. You want to attack me? No, I'm going to attack you like 5 million times. Hold up. Of course, you can only attack the thing that wants to attack you, and if you kill the thing that's attacking you, the effect is negated. Because, again, you prevented it from happening in the first place. The flavor on these is pretty good, not gonna lie. Sleeping Goddess hands us a lot of debuff stuff, which is basically exactly what we want to see on a build that's already buffing and debuffing. Take Ego Wounding Strike, a level 1 discipline, standard action. If you hit with your attack, it's a will save, DC 11 plus initiation modifier, or the thing you hit takes a -2 penalty on attack rolls, ability checks, and skill checks for 1 round, stacking with the stuff that your class is doing already. Augmenting this can increase the debuff. It's just real good. Harmony Shattering Strike is right up our build's alley as well. Do normal damage on a hit, then it's 11 plus initiation modifier save, or for 1 round, any attacks from your allies against that target deal an additional 1d6 points of damage, which we can further buff by spending points. We're grabbing some from Eternal Guardian as well. Remember how we're charisma based? Yeah, we don't need to mess around, though you certainly could if you have the stats, run around some strength and charisma and underwater rager shenanigans. Fear the Reaper from Eternal Guardian as an immediate action says that in response to a melee or ranged attack being made against an ally, make an intimidate check using the attack roll as the DC. If you succeed, the attack is negated and the attacker is shaken, right? The goal here is to make the martial classes stand on par with the casters, as so often they do not. Now, of course, as far as our items go, it's the big 6. Keep yourself buffed, debuff them, buff your friends, and have really powerful abilities that we can pass out to our friends while giving our friends extra actions and ourselves extra actions as well. It's real good. Of course, inevitably, the conversation always goes with Path of War to, well, if this is so good, why should I use it in my Pathfinder games? Frankly, it's fun. Giving the marshals this much power kind of makes like an anime style setting, or at least like doesn't make you feel bad for not playing the caster. Now, I wouldn't introduce this necessarily into any game. Certainly not like a published adventure path or anything where people are on a low point by, you'll blow them out of the water. But I do have a couple of thoughts as to how to introduce Path of War into normal homebrew games without breaking the game wide open, because you really will. If someone is playing Path of War, and most of us are not, one of these classes is much better than the other, at least on balance. The first way to set that balance right, obviously, is to set the meta in such a way that the only marshals are Path of War marshals. The only classes available in your campaign are full casters and Path of War characters. People can play other things if they would like, but they at least know from jump that they will be doing so at disadvantage. Secondly, and given how easy it is for a maneuver-based class to use maneuvers, I don't think it's unreasonable if you really want to play a zealot in a party of a bunch of non-Path of War characters to say that the Path of War class does not get feats. Maneuvers are just as powerful, if not more powerful, and they are never truly lost. You might have to jump through a couple of hoops to get them back, but they'll come back next combat. You're still a full bad class with a hefty hit dice that is cheating the action economy. There are very few things in this game more broken than that. Removing feats at least kind of lets classes use like style feats and things to kind of catch up. Lastly, if your game is a Gestalt game, I think after GMing for a Path of War character in a Gestalt game, I think it's more than fair to say that a maneuver-based character in my settings, in the same way that a template, counts as a Gestalt character. This is basically two characters at once. You have a lot of really powerful abilities in class and combat feats and combat abilities that come right back. On balance, that seems to be as powerful to me as a CR +1 or maybe even +2 eventually template like the Half Celestial and something like a Fighter Barbarian or Fighter Magus or the Gestalt build of your choosing. Kind of feels the same to me, at least looking at it on paper. I don't know. But I hope that was informative for you guys. What do you guys think about Path of War? Have we played it? Have we GM'd it? What is your favorite Path of War, Marshall? Put it in the comments. We've got one more coming, actually. I've had a lot of patron requests come down in the past few weeks, so I'm going to break the Path of War ones up a little bit so we can let this one sit for a little while. We'll come back to it, not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after. Next week, we'll be talking about a melee alchemist by patron request. See you then.